Hola mis muñequitas, and welcome back to Crystal Cavern Dolls. Today, I'll be attempting something entirely new, Inset Eyes. For that, I'll be creating Lotus, who is designed as a life deity, almost like a counterpart to Styx. Alright, let's begin. So, I don't have footage of this because I was lazy, but before beginning the face-up, I used an X-Acto knife to cut open the head of the doll and cut out her eye holes. Then I sprayed her with Mr. Super Clear and began with blushing. Working around the large eye holes in the face was definitely interesting and a bit difficult at times. Of course, I don't typically pay too much attention to blushing the eyes themselves, but rather the area around them. Still, the face is certainly different to blush than what I've done before. At the beginning, I'm mostly sticking to colors that one would expect, pinks and reds to go with her pastel pink skin tone. But since she is meant to be a goddess, I wanted to play around with the pastels. So I applied a variety of blues, pinks, and purples around her eyes and across the bridge of her nose. This was to give her a more magical look, and was inspired by several examples of different ethereal makeup that I found on Pinterest. After another MSC layer, we move on to what was one of the more difficult parts for me, sketching out the details of the face. With two gaping holes in her face, it was completely different from what I'm used to. I ended up outlining her eyes with colored pencil and slowly tried to build up color, while being somewhat unsure of how thick the lashes should be, or if the outline should go all the way around the eyes. There was quite a bit to consider. Naturally, filling out the crease of the lips was pretty easy, given that I didn't do anything to the lips. The same can be said for the eyebrows, though positioning them was a little harder than usual. So now we begin to sharpen the features and fill in little details like the small freckles, hearts, and diamonds I drew around her eyes and on her cheeks. Fun fact, I actually did this part of the face-up after I finished the rest of the doll, but I put it here in the video for better continuity. It's currently winter in the northern hemisphere, so there has been no shortage of humidity, which Mr. Superclear is not a fan of. So it took a while for there to be an opportunity for me to spray. Actually, the first part of this face-up was done back when I was working on both Athena and my sister's doll, since there were only a few dryish periods during that time. Oh, the troubles of living with near constant rain. After, very fortunately, being able to get in the final layer of MSC, I glossed up her lips with high gloss varnish. Here, I'm adding several little jewels and fake pearls to her cheeks to add just a little extra magic to her face-up. Now, I glue the eyes I made into the head, which wasn't easy, let me tell you, and then I put back the top of her head. At this point in time, I was actually finished with Lotus, but in video time, there is still plenty left to see. So let's check out the rest of the process. And thus the sewing begins. I start off with making her, a bra crop top? Tube top? I don't actually know what it's called, but I made this article of clothing with some really soft blue fabric that I kept petting while I sewed. I also added 2 crisscrossing ribbons to the top. I added a few small gemstones to give it a little sparkle. Now, I sew a flowy, loose jacket, or shrug, maybe? I love the silky fabric that I found for this, especially the shade of periwinkle blue. I also gave this piece of clothing a ribbon edge to clean it up a bit and to give the entire outfit some coherence. I made her a very short skirt with a rippled fabric that is the same type as the one that I used for the jacket, except it's this lovely shade of pink. I managed to get my hands on this shimmery iridescent tulle that I used to make a train for the skirt. I am in love with it. To give the skirt a little more detail, I put a craft jewel onto it. The train was looking a little plain, so I added a few fabric roses that I happened to come across that fit perfectly with the Goddess of Life aesthetic that I was going for. Moving on to something other than clothing, it's time for the wig! Olé! Oh, I love making these! At this point, because of that darn humidity, I hadn't completed the face-up, and thus her scalp wasn't on her head. So to make the wig, I had to remove the head and take out the hair of a completely different Raven Queen doll so that I could make the wig cap and the wig itself. I have no idea when I'll customize this doll, but she's certainly been useful for this one. I had a lot of fun with the wefts this time. Well, okay, not with brushing out the yarn, but I played around with the colors a bit and used pastels to get varying shades of blue, purple, and a little pink, so I absolutely love how they turned out. I worked my way around the circumference of the head with several initial layers of wefts so that I could pull the top layer into a bun, as I had drawn out in my concept art. It's been a while since I've actually done any sort of updo for a doll. I don't think I've actually shown it at all on this channel. So there's another first. I pull several wefts into the bun, or ponytail right now, positioning them so that nothing shows through. I actually used some old rubber bands for braces that were lying around. They're actually pretty effective, and it's nice to have an actual use for them. I wanted to see how the wig might look on Lotus, so I plopped it onto her cut-open head and, oh, yeah, that's a little disturbing. Moving on. I found the perfect hair accessory in the form of this little pink butterfly, and I love how it looks on the wig. At this point, the jacket was looking a little uninteresting, so I tied two translucent ribbons into bows and sewed them onto the cuffs of the sleeves, allowing the ends to trail downwards. Now I was really in a decorative mood, so I started adding a bunch of my nail art pearls to the train, both directly to the tulle and to the roses as well. Of course, the ribbons had to receive the same treatment, so here I am doing that right now. As if I didn't have enough decor already, I also strung a few beads onto two strings and sewed them onto the ribbons as well. For one final touch, Lotus gets a mani-pedi with alternating blue and pink nails. And now that I've shown you everything that I filmed for the doll, it's time to show off the finished product. Whew, that was a little insane. It took a lot of work for Lotus to come together as a completed doll, but I'm really happy with how she turned out. The eyes look a little wonky, but for my first time attempting Inset Eyes, I think they turned out relatively decent. Of course, I adore how the outfit and her wig look once everything's been put together. I'm pretty proud of myself. As always, gracias por ver el video. Please like, subscribe for more content, and share the video. Adios!